I'm Jim Wodrich. I was on the Greater Round Lake Fire Protection District for 31 years. 26 of it was full-time. We do have firefighting in our family. My father was a volunteer on the same department from 1962 to 1978. My older brother was on this department from 1982 to 1994. My younger brother was on this department he was only on there for 3 years, I believe, and then he's full-time in Vernon Hills now. And my older brother's wife was also on at the same time, and there was one moment where all four of us were on the same engine for a call. We did firefighting, like I said, in the family. It's a great, rewarding job. Nothing like it in the world. The brotherhood, the camaraderie, the rewards you get for helping people. All of that is just tremendous. And you get a good pension.
Yeah. What was like your, I feel like it's hard to say like favorite part, but like what about it? The rewarding part of it?
Probably rewarding part would be like the calls where you made a difference immediately. Most of the calls we ran, probably close to 80% are EMS calls. So we had to be firefighters and paramedics. So, delivering babies, somebody, like have them low blood sugar, you give them some glucose, and within minutes they're talking to you again. And those are rewarding ones because you see like instant gratification.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know it's maybe hard, but like what would be like then the toughest part of it, or
dealing with children. Yeah, especially when they're severely injured or sick or have a poor outcome. Those are the ones that stick with you for a long time. Yeah. Nobody likes doing those.
No.
Do you have a specific either challenging moment or most rewarding moment, whether that had been saving a child or a family or vice versa? Like, do you have one that sticks out to you still as like a big moment in your career?
Big moments, pulling somebody out of a burning house that's still alive, those are always big moments. We did have a few of those. And like I said, delivering babies, that's like the greatest in the world. And then just knowing you made a difference and these people come back to visit you to thank you. We did have a younger guy who was a full cardiac arrest. He was in his 40s, healthy guy, but he had some cardiac issues. And when we got to his home in Round Lake, he was a full arrest. We were doing CPR on him, bagging him. And 2 weeks later, he come back to visit us at the firehouse, thanked us for everything, and those are the best feeling ones in the world.
Yeah. I have chills.
Yeah.
So did I.
Yeah.
I was thinking
That's really I can see where that would be very rewarding.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Even getting pets out of a burning house, and on the later in my career, they had oxygen masks just specifically for pets. And it's like a cup, you put oxygen on, put it over their face, you help them breathe a little bit, and then all of a sudden they're kicking and moving, and yeah, because I like dogs. And
I was going to say, people's pets are their,
are their
their
kids, yes,
so
right.
It is the same feeling probably.
Yeah,
so.
it is.
Yeah.
How, I know you said that firefighting, you come from a long line of that with it being in your family, but would you say there's any particular reason that kind of drew you into it, other than obviously you were surrounded by it, but growing up, did you always want to be a firefighter?
No,
or
I didn't.
How did that come about?
I got into it late. Like I said, my father and my older brother were into it. Before I got into it, I worked at this place in Grays Lake called State Oil Company, and the supervisor there was on the fire department. And he worked with my dad, and he kept pushing, why aren't you doing this? You need to do this. It's a career, it's a pension, it's all of this. And I just resisted, and then just decided, okay, I'll give it a shot. And then got into it. And then once I started, that was in 1990. 5 years later, I got hired full time, and then made a career out of it.
Yeah. One of the things that I think we often forget about with first responders and just a lot of our local heroes is the sacrifices that they make and that their family makes. Can you tell us a little bit about that in terms of your children, your spouse, and what that looks like?
With working
a long time.
Yeah, 24 on, 48 hours off. and you don't pick your day. I mean, you can pick some days off, but eventually you're going to be working Christmas Day, Thanksgiving Day, New Year's Eve, all the birthdays, other events like, weddings, you'd definitely get off. But so we would schedule birthdays, holidays, or that around my schedule. So instead of maybe not doing Christmas on Christmas morning, we would do either Christmas Eve or the day after Christmas. So there's a lot of sacrificing. When you're young and just getting into it, you're gonna miss holidays, you're gonna miss birthdays. It's just no way around it.
Well, we appreciate that.
Yeah.
very
Thanks,
much.
thank you.
Yeah, very much.
Yeah, and my wife, I mean, the spouses put up with a lot.
Right.
Being gone that long, and we had 2 kids when I got hired full time, and then had our third 3 years later. So for that 24 hours, she was main caregiver for kids. And then later on, once we had a third too, same thing. Just she did it all. She's a rock star.
Yeah, both.
Beside working full time.
Yeah, I was gonna say both types of heroes here.
Yeah, right, right. Yeah, without her support and her knowing me knowing she's going to take care of things at home and I have nothing to worry about, and just go to work. That's huge.
So none of your kids wanted to follow?
None of
through?
them, none of them.
Really?
I have a son. He's going to be 27 tomorrow, but he never showed interest in it. I mean, he liked what I did. My oldest daughter and my son are teachers, and my middle daughter's a registered nurse. So she kind of, got into the knowing when I was a paramedic and would talk about calls and doing this and that. She got interested in the medical field and then became a registered nurse. But yeah, my son just, no thanks. I think he saw what, coming home after being up all night running calls, you're beat up. And he's like, it's not for me. 9 to 5 is a good job.
Yeah.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
You talked a little bit about the brotherhood that you have, and just what you said a minute ago. It's not a 9 to 5 job. You do spend a lot of time at the firehouse. Are you still in close connection with some of the people that you work
Yeah,
with?
I am.
Okay.
I go back and visit every now and then. The retirees have breakfast on Fridays in Fox Lake. We all go there, and not a lot of the retirees that I worked with are there. Most of the guys at that breakfast are retirees that worked with my dad, the older guys. So it's still kind of neat to be in touch with them. But Round Lake had an annual holiday party. During COVID, they didn't have it, but they brought it back this last December. So just to go back and see all the guys that I used to work with, and the guys that I knew, and then there's quite a few new faces in the last, because I haven't been there in 4 years, that just don't know them, don't recognize them. So yeah, but yeah, just knowing they're doing the job now, and they're running a lot more calls than when I was there. So they're getting beat up worse. Yeah. Yeah, Round Lake is running. I think last year they ran close to 6,500 calls out of 3 stations, and it's like 3rd or 4th in the county. Yeah.
That is a lot.
Yeah.
It is when I'm averaging 20, 22, 24 calls a day. Yeah, that's a lot of calls. There's some days you might slow down a little bit, or other days where you're over that. So.
What was this is probably bad to say, but the busiest day? Was it a different holiday? You always see on TV about Thanksgiving, people deep frying turkeys or all that. Is it?
We had one. I wasn't on duty, but it was 3 houses down from me where I used to live, and we all had pagers. This was 10 years ago, and my pager went off for a house fire, and I recognized the address 3 doors down, and the guy was deep frying a turkey in his garage between 2 cars. Didn't even pull the cars out of the garage and started the cars on fire in his garage, and so that was exciting. So some people cause their own problems.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's no lack of those kind of calls, that's for sure.
Definitely, yeah. I always see that. Don't deep fry,
Yeah.
wherever.
And then you get a lot New Year's Eve,
Yeah.
people overdoing it, or St. Patty's Day. Yeah, there's those call days spike.
Yeah. All the traditional fun days,
I was
so to
gonna
speak,
say,
Right,
for the general
right.
public, are
Yes.
harder days for you guys.
Right.
Yeah.
And our call volume, most of the calls came because Round Lake was known as a bedroom community, where most people work during the day, so our call volume picked up after 4 p.m. So from 4 till 8 o'clock the next morning, you're running a lot of, most of your calls were coming after 4 p.m.
Wow.
Yeah.
I would never know that. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sure Antioch's kind of the same way.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know the chief here, and we came up together. He worked in Round Lake for a little while before he went to Grays Lake, and now he's in Antioch. So he's a good guy.
I have another question that just came to mind. So tell me a little bit about how your helmet came to Station 51. Did someone reach out to you? Was it Mariah who had asked you, or did you hear
Well, they
about it
posted
somewhere
something.
else?
I was
Okay.
following it, as they're building. This is coming to Antioch, and then I think Mariah did post that they're looking for helmets or memorabilia. So I had a few helmets laying around, and decided just to bring one in. And I brought a couple of little tools. I don't know if Chris ever used them to, like an old nozzle and stuff. I didn't know if he could use this kind of stuff. It's just another, once again, just laying around. It's like, if you can do something with it.
Yeah.
So yeah, when I brought that here, he walked me around. Most of this wasn't, was still under construction. The bar was just started with the fire hydrants into the corners and that, so that was really cool to see. But yeah, and then once it was all done, then we got an invitation to come in for to see everything and have like a soft opening.
Nice.
Yeah, it was really cool. There aren't, I've looked around for a long time for a fire-themed bar restaurant in the area, and there just aren't any. There's one in Lake Forest, I think, but it's not as, this is like old school, cool looking fire. And that one's a little more modern, but it's nice. The guy that started it was a firefighter or chief in, out near Libertyville. And then his son took it over, who was also a firefighter. Schooling and training, and it's like endless certifications going on and on. Once you become a state certified firefighter and a state certified paramedic, then you can get hired full time. Nobody around hires you unless you already have those certifications. When I started, Round Lake had a paid on call program, so they paid for all your schooling. They paid for your paramedic class, they paid for firefighter class, and then as you get more certifications, they're covering all of that. And they even gave breaks for like associate and bachelor's degree. I went back late in life to get my bachelor's for promotional reasons. So my middle daughter and I graduated on the same day. I was 50 years old when I graduated to get my bachelor's degree.
Love
Yeah.
that. Very
But
cool.
yeah, her graduation was a little more important than mine, so we went to hers and I didn't make mine. But
That's a neat celebration, though, to share together.
it was.
Yeah.
And like I said, I was a state certified fire arson investigator. That's another long class, but once again, the fire department paid for it all. And it's just, you pad your resume on, certain things you have to be promoted, and then other ones are just the state requires you to get these certifications.
Did you ever utilize the arson investigator
A lot,
certification?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was an investigator for almost 15 years,
Wow.
so yeah.
How did you, how does that compare to the other side of things where you're, like you said before, bringing people out of the house and answering those first calls versus looking at it from an investigator's side? That's a totally different role. So.
It is, but you did both. You were there fighting the fire, and then once the fire's out, depending on who's on the scene, if I'm the only investigator there, then I start investigating. Or you get to a certain point where, there's nothing hectic going on. I would start, get a pad of paper, start talking to people, start taking pictures. That was very interesting at the end of my career, kind of just, like you said, to look back or step back and it's like, there's a fire, I'm gonna go put it out. Well, now wait a minute, what kind of caused it? What can't be moved until we take pictures, that kind of stuff. Because other times you're just in there and you're just throwing stuff around and, just to get stuff out of the house or whatever. But the investigation part was really, really neat at the end.
Yeah. I'm sure you have some good stories from that.
There's a lot of stories, yeah.
Yeah.
There are. I was also I was lieutenant for 15 years and then a acting battalion chief also. So when the battalion chief was on vacation, I would step up and run the shift. And I happened to be command of one of the biggest fires Round Lake ever had in downtown Round Lake. They had a business down below, and then on the second floor was 3 apartments. And the business owner, his dad owned a plumbing company, and he was doing some plumbing, so he was doing some work inside the house by himself, or with a helper, but they were soldering pipes in a wall and didn't know they started a fire inside the wall. And then at 3 o'clock in the morning, there's flames through the roof, and yeah. So that was not fun, but we were there for a long time. To the point where our retired chief, he had heard what was going on, and he's still active in the area. He went to the local pizza restaurant and got a dozen pizzas and just started passing them out all around to everybody, just to keep everybody, fed and hydrated, because we were there probably 8 or 9 hours. And then just fire departments from all over Lake County coming there to help out.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it's just so brave to know that you guys just like walk in and just.
When you're first starting, you're thinking like, is this, because during one of my first training fires, a flashover occurred where everything in the room catches fire at one time. Just like, that's why they call it a flashover. So there was a guy right at the door videotaping this with an old school VHS camcorder on his shoulder, but he's got firefighter gear on. But as he's taping and the room lit up, I took off and I crawled right between his legs as he's filming just to get out of there. Because when I started, we still had not the best turnout gear, but it was sufficient to go into a fire. So it got warm real fast. So we just got out of there.
Wow, that's crazy.
But the amount of heat from that, we never got to see the videotape because it ruined his camera.
Oh,
So,
Yeah.
yeah. I don't know why he thought it would be a good idea anyway.
yeah.
Actually, his son has his helmet up here.
Oh, really?
Oh, really?
His son donated the guy that was filming it, Jimmy Jones. His helmet's up there also.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's right above, in the row above mine.
Okay.
But he was the one that was videotaping the training fire when it happened.
Oh, yeah, I see it up there.
Yeah,
It's awesome.
yeah.
I don't know. I feel like I have at least one more question. Just like, how do you still stay active within? I know you said you go to, the breakfast and all that sort of stuff, but do you stay active in any other way or just kind of?
Just visiting guys now.
Yeah.
There's nothing. I let all my certifications lapse.
Mm-hmm.
It's like some people are like, oh, you can get a part-time job working for a private ambulance and something like that. It's like, with the amount of ambulance calls I ran in 31 years, I don't ever want to be in an ambulance again.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
And hopefully not in the back either, but
Yeah.
but
So what are you doing with your time now?
well, we're eventually going to downsize. So painting every room, fixing this, when things break, fixing them. Just kind of living the great retired life.
I was gonna say,
Yeah.
limit it up after.
Yeah,
You know.
You earned it for sure.
Yeah,
I did.
definitely.
I did, and I'm enjoying it right now.
That's
Good.
great.
And anybody I talk to, it's like, you got to get to retirement sooner than later.
Yeah.
Because the IAFF had a stat at one time that said the average firefighter only lives 11 years after they retire. So they only collect their pension for 11 years. With everything, with all the stress it puts on your body and all the things you're exposed to, you get 11 years out of your pension and then you die.
Wow.
Which is average. So, I mean, some of the guys that, on those breakfasts on Friday, they're 25 years into a pension already and still doing fine. So, yeah, one of the guys is 88 years old, still drives down. He lives in Lake Geneva.
Oh, okay.
And so he's really enjoying his pension.
Yeah, seriously.
Good for
If
him.
he's out
Yeah.
in Geneva, yeah.
Yeah,
Well, that's good.
yeah, it is. So, retire sooner than later. That's for anybody. Just got to get to a point in life where
Yeah.
something's more important than working.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Sure,
thank you. Thank you
sure.
for this. Thank you for serving. Thank you for
Yeah,
all of it.
Thank you.
Everything.
Thank you
Yeah.
for saying that.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
I chills the whole time.
I did too.
Oh,
I'm
thanks.
like,
Yeah.
I'm like about to cry.
I
over
know,
here,
that's
so,
what I was
yeah.
thinking.
Oh, yeah.
It's just great.
It is. It is. Great career. I'm glad I did it when I should have started sooner, but just glad I did it.